As many of you know, my comic book Edie comes out January 10th. What might surprise some of you is just how long it took to get to this point. There were many times I thought about quitting, but I kept at it. I made this video in hopes that it would help someone else on their comic book journey. So the story of Edie has been with me since late 2018. I was new to fatherhood at the time and was tending my newborn late one night in August when I came across a tweet by Jason Blum of Blumhouse. Someone had asked him if he would ever consider doing a remake of The Blob. He replied that they thought about it but passed. For whatever reason, that got me thinking. The 1988 remake scared the heck out of me as a child. In fact, I think it might be the first movie to do so. And the reason is admittedly quite silly. It was the first time a character with my first name didn't make it to the end. Unfortunately for Paul, he is the second character to get gobbled up. Anyway, I started wondering what an updated version of The Blob would even look like. I revisited the remake when the baby would let me, and over the course of many sleepless nights, I started making notes, doing outlines. Nothing really hit me as interesting or worthwhile for a long time. It wasn't until my daughter made one inspiration finally struck me. Stories of assault in Hollywood by major studio players was big news. I found the idea of something horrible happening to you, then have no one believe you, terrifying. Maybe even more so now as a father to a little girl. So that was the beginning. My blob wouldn't be a mindless monster. Edie needed to be a person. Someone with a soul, someone who was wronged by society. A monster remade in the old Universal Studio fashion. The first draft wasn't done until 2020. That's when I started the long road of screenplay competitions. Overall, it did fine over a 2-year period. It was a finalist in 4 and a shortlist on another. I never quite made it to the winner's circle with the project. I sought help from readers and continued to workshop the idea, but it started to feel like it was getting further and further from what I had hoped to create. Plus, how was this going to see the light of day? Would anyone buy a spec script? Probably not. I talked with a few producers, but nothing ever became of it. Everything was comic book movies. Comic book movies. Now that was an idea. As a kid, I loved comic books. Comic books was my first love. Growing up, that's what I wanted to do, write comic books. But I couldn't draw to save my life. So I got into movies instead. Around that time is when a buddy got me in touch with Rob Guillory. He's a Louisiana local legend in the comic book business, so I asked him for advice. He did me one better. He was in the process of setting up a class for people looking to break into comics. So I enrolled as his second or third student, I can't remember, but after 6 months, he taught me how to write for comics. Plus, we workshopped Edie from a 108-page script to a 5-issue miniseries. After the class was wrapped, he sent me on my way to assemble a team. We were still dealing with COVID, so this was a hard journey to say the least. I talked to many artists, but few were available. And if they were, it would be months before they could take me on as a client. Eventually, I found one who shall remain nameless for this documentary, and we worked together for about 6 months. Together, we put together a pitch that I sent to every publisher I could email. Whereas in film, you get used to rejection letters. In comic books, you don't even get that. Finally, after years of hard work and months of waiting for a publisher to reach out, Blood Moon said they were interested. They told me to come back after 3 issues were completed. They gave me to the 1st of 2023 to get it done. Unfortunately, the artist just couldn't keep to the deadline. And over 6 months, instead of 3 issues, he was only able to complete half of just 1. We parted ways soon after. I mentioned to Blood Moon that I was looking for a new creative team, and they, of course, didn't reply. Couldn't blame them. I can remember thinking, crap, all this hard work for nothing. I had to start all over again. So in January of 2023, I managed to find the talented Greg Woronchak on Facebook, of all places. He got me in touch with the wonderful Rebecca Good for colors, and soon after we found the talented Buddy Bodin for letters. As you can imagine, I was pretty nervous that Blood Moon would not take this project. I waited until we finished 2 full issues before I approached Blood Moon again. That was June of 2023. I was very scared they were going to pass, but fortunately they decided to still publish us. So this brings me to now. I'm now trying to let everyone know that I have a comic book coming out in January. If you're watching this before November 18th, 2023, you can order this on previews or through the Blood Moon website. Hopefully I'll have more updates on the process of making a comic book over the next few days. Regardless, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Wish me luck, because I am sure going to need it.